Welcome to Boreal Management's video series, What You Need to Know, bringing you nuggets of valuable, practical, and important HR information to help bring your organization to the next level. In this series this week, we are discussing what you need to know about the return to the office. If you're an employer and you want some tips and tricks on what to consider when bringing your employees back to the office, then keep on watching. Don't forget to turn on the subtitles in your YouTube settings, available in both English and French.
Hi, I'm Tanya Neitzert, partner at Boreal Management. In this video, I'll especially be focusing on a question about vaccines, face masks, and COVID testing for employees and their return to work. So let's firstly begin with the question of vaccines. As HR consultants, we have been closely monitoring the legal advice surrounding this very tricky and difficult situation that employers are faced with. So what can you and can you not ask of employees regarding the vaccine? So first, here are a couple of links to some relevant articles on the subject, which are also provided in the video notes. So whether or not an individual is vaccinated is considered highly sensitive personal health information. And so it is highly recommended not to ask for this information unless there is an absolute business-related need. We strongly recommend seeking legal advice to validate whether the employer's perceived need to ask for this information is actually warranted, and also to craft a really solid policy surrounding this reason, as well as any accommodations that would need to be made under human rights legislation. So what would you do if an employee is showing symptoms of COVID in the workplace? Could the employer ask their employees to get tested? So again, generally speaking, the employer cannot force an employee to get tested. However, as an employer, you do need to ensure that you are providing a safe workplace. So it will be essential that you have extremely clear policies and procedures in place that state and document the guidelines and rules for when an employee is showing symptoms. So for example, health questionnaire, asking employees to leave if they're experiencing any symptoms. And finally, that they need to either quarantine for 2 weeks or confirm a negative test result before returning to work. It is also really important to ensure that any medical information you collect is highly safeguarded and strictly kept on a need-to-know basis. What about face masks? So as of today, the wearing of face masks and maintaining physical distancing are still required in an office environment. So your obligation as an employer is to keep up to date with the latest local legislation. And think about what policies will be most fitted to your organizations. Think about creating policies that reinforce both the employee safety and employee rights. So try to consider policies such as, will you give paid leave if employees need to quarantine, or sick days while they wait for test results, even if they've already used up their allotted sick days? Can employees work from home while they're waiting for test result or quarantine? And what is the policy for employees that can't actually perform their tasks from home? Finally, what about travel for work? What kind of policies will you put in place for this? Does your workplace have any risk of abusive rules? Navigating through the transition of the return to office is really difficult for employers. Your employees may have varying viewpoints on vaccines and testing, and there's also a lot of ambiguity about what the return will mean for your employees. So employers need to find ways to prioritize health and safety while being inclusive and accepting of diverging viewpoints. This will ensure an overall engaged staff. So ways to achieve this are clear, fair, and reasonable policies. Strong communications can also really help with enforcing the policies by appealing to employees' sense of ethics, and that one person's actions have an impact on all. Finally, as leaders, being a strong role model, leading by example, and creating a culture of safety will really have an impact on your staff. Boreal Management can assist you in updating your policies, thinking through the general implications, as well as finally communications planning. We can also point you in the direction to great legal advice so that you can be sure that you're covered for whatever you're being faced with. So check out some of our information in the video links.
So now let's do a quick recap of what you need to consider before bringing employees back to the office. First, you need to create clear policies and procedures that states and documents the guidelines and the rules for when an employee is showing symptoms. What is very important is that any medical information you collect needs to be highly safeguarded. Concerning face masks, your obligation as an employer is to keep up to date with the latest provincial legislation. You also need to think about creating policies that reinforce both the employee safety and employee rights. Be sure to watch this space in the next couple of days as we continue discussing the topic of the return to the office. Want to take your organization to the next level? Subscribe for new content and connect with us on our social media channels. See you next time.